Hi everyone, this is Jalen Cook. This is my presentation on avoiding clutter. First of all, let's talk about cognitive overload theory. So what is it? Well, there's only so much that a person can take in at a time whenever we're looking at a presentation. It's easy to get distracted and miss information whenever there's too much going on. Graphics are great, but you can still have too much information by overloading graphics on a presentation. Now then, this is basically saying that in order for us to commit something to memory, we have to be able to process it and it have enough time to go from our working memory to our long-term memory. And whenever there's too much stuff going on a page, there just isn't enough time for us to commit that to long-term memory. So some things to avoid cognitive overload. Do not switch up your fonts. That's really hard for a person to adjust to. Avoid putting too many words on a page. Avoid splitting attention by placing text far from diagrams. You can label your diagrams by putting words underneath it, but try not to have separate text. Excuse me, because that's really hard for our brains to focus on two things at once, and avoid unnecessary information. Now then, I haven't always made my presentations like this with all of this white space here in between. That's something that's kind of new, and honestly, I figured by reading all of this stuff that I've actually been putting way too much information on a page and had too many distractions going on. So this is an example of how hard it is to process font whenever we have different sizes, different fonts, and just different information on a page. It might look cool to have all your favorite fonts on a page, but are you really getting the point across whenever we're looking at information? Now then, visual and audio. Let's replace some of the visual with audio. If you're just trying to have people read text on a screen and look at pictures, and you're just reading right from the page, is it really a benefit? And also, maybe you should replace some text and try talking about a diagram rather than having text on a screen to explain the diagram. And we already talked about avoid splitting up the diagram from the text. If you're trying to label a diagram, make sure it's right underneath it. Now then, altogether, this probably is not a bad representation, but whenever you put the picture along with these words over here, if we were to show this to our students or to an audience, it would be really hard for them to get the information that we need out of this. Now, what is the information that we need? Is it talking about solving systems and how we can do that differently? Or, excuse me, or is it talking about, I want you to understand how to find the solution? Either way, if all of this was going on while I was trying to talk, odds are there would not be very much retained from this slide. Now then, this isn't a whole lot different. There's still some good information going on. I avoided putting text on the screen with this picture because this would be an example where I mainly used audio to talk about what's going on in the picture. So if I were to explain this rather than having written words, I would just explain it using audio, which is my voice. So I would say we're using the substitution method here, and this is a very good visual of I'm replacing the pencils with the box of blue pencils right here. Replacing the green pencils with the blocks of blue pencils plus 4 right here. And that would be a good start, in my opinion, to explaining the substitution method while solving. Now then again, it's not perfect, and we're all going to make mistakes whenever we create presentations, but those are just some things to be mindful of, because I know that I've been really making a lot of errors that I figured out whenever I was setting up this video. So I hope that helps you guys. Thanks.